Continuing on with the TMCC Library Open Genealogy Lab Outstanding Guest Speaker Series, today we are pleased to present Melanie Howard. Melanie is the archivist in Washington County, New York. She has a records management background with previous positions in the county and has a strong interest in history. She had previously worked in the graphic arts industry as well in newspaper print. Noting the gradual change in newspaper format, she was prompted to seek a new career. She became a civil servant, returning to college and earning an AS degree in computer science. She has been in her current position since 2016 and learns something new almost every day. She works for the county clerk and is focused on imaging documents for preservation to ensure easy access to the public. Today's presentation is going to be about what the Washington County Archive holdings are, as well as some general information about the current database. She will also go into what steps go into a research request made to her office and touch on the database conversion project currently in progress. So I'd like to offer a warm virtual welcome to Melanie.
Hi, everyone. I'm going to just get started. I'm going to try not to read through the slides verbatim, but it might happen. And I'm not quite sure what the green lines are. They're not on the presentation, though, so we'll just get started. So this is what we're going to cover today. The introduction. The sample list of holdings is also on our Washington County, New York website, www.washingtoncountynY.gov, or you may Google Washington County, New York, and it should bring you right to it. If you don't include the New York, it will probably bring you to Washington County, Ohio, so be mindful. Paradox is our current database, which if anyone is computer savvy knows it's old. So we're in the process of updating that. IQS is our current county clerk electronic content records management. That's where all the deeds are located. Deeds, mortgages, notaries, oaths of office, that kind of thing. We'll talk about that a little bit. The conversion to Access is in process at this time. I'm very excited about it. It looks cleaner. They're going to build a public search site, so anyone who ever comes to Washington County is able to come in and do their own searching. They can still do that searching now, but the database, again, is pretty old. And our last thing will just be questions. Okay, so I did a couple images of what my office is. That right image is the vault door. From what I've been told, this building A of the Washington County Municipal Center is the oldest. It was built in the 1950s era, so I am actually working in a certified bomb shelter. I don't have all the amenities, but there's some civil defense buckets sitting around. They're empty, though, so I don't really know what they used to hold in them. That bottom left shot is, in that far corner is our preserved census records. That was a project done in the 1980s through grant funding. One of the previous county clerks took that on and got all of our census records preserved, indexed, I believe, yes, and also imaged. They're also imaged for me to have a little bit easier access and to be able to email some things. So it's kind of nice. The New York State Archives has been here and I believe made sure that we follow the environmental controls for a record storage area. I think that's it for that. All right. So that computer and microfilm machine, I'm sure most of you, seems like this is something you all do. That microfilm machine is the only one I have left to access rolls and microfiche. It's also a scanner. So when I get research requests by mail and I have to access the film, I'm able to image off of the rolls onto the computer that's right there. That is also the public search computer where public can come in. Because of COVID, I'm sure you've come across this. Lots of places were shut down for a little bit. We are reopened by appointment only, so I can only have one person in the vault at a time currently. And I really don't get that much traffic anymore. From what I understand, a lot of our records are online or indexes to those records are online. So most people getting a hold of me will either just want the citation part, or I don't know, sometimes it seems like they're really hoping that something new has appeared, and unfortunately I have to break their hearts. I wish there was more information out there. Everything that was microfilmed in the 80s and 90s were the records that were going to be mostly able for people to use for their genealogy. I hold the wills and that kind of stuff, which we'll talk about in a minute. But this other shot is the census books, a little bit closer view, and some little artifacts. I believe that is a jury box and a jury card holder they used to use. That's the public search area, though. These are our microfilm roll cabinets and microfiche. Most of the judgments and orders for Washington County were imaged to microfiche once they got rid of the paper. They imaged it onto microfiche and they got rid of the paper. We obviously had a storage situation, space issue, and that's currently what we're coming across currently. So we're working on imaging 1950s forward at this point. I kind of like the old paper stuff. So we're able to dispose of 1920 forward, but I'm kind of holding on to that 30 years right now. And if we run into a space where we need to get rid of more, then that 30 years will have to be imaged as well, but that will be a trickier process at that point. So this is the locked door to where most of the records are stored. And that's just a little highway map of our county. Looks kind of funky, but that's our county. And this is inside the vault. Lots and lots of rows of lots and lots of stuff. The things in the blue boxes are the acid-free boxes for the oldest records in the county. As you can see, we're pretty full. We've got a lot of records. I want to say mid-1700s forward, and the originals are here in those preserved boxes. And any other kind of box is the more current. We're working on, getting more things wrapped. You can see at the top of that second slide, the very top shelf has some wrapped books. I want to say that those are the oldest mortgage books. So mid-1700s, and it's the original mortgage book. That last slide is our tax roll book, or tax roll area, or assessment rolls. Lots and lots of those. Those are going to be ones that I'm working on getting imaged. More easily searchable, indexed, that kind of thing. They take up a lot of space that I could use for other things. So this information is directly from our website. And this is not a list I came up with. It's a list that I inherited from the previous archivist. I've been here since 2016. And I kind of just inherited it. I haven't updated it because there really isn't anything more to add to it at this point in time. A lot of the requests I get are mostly the wills. I usually get requests for birth, death, marriage, and unfortunately, as you can see on that third bullet down, I only hold 3 years worth of those 3 vitals. And then marriages, for some reason, for that 30-year breakout. I have no idea why. And you can read there that this information was not typically recorded. Why they recorded in 1847, I don't know. When someone gets a time machine, I'm going to ask that they just come get me so that I can go ask these questions. These vital records are now from 1880-ish, depending on the town or village. They're at the town or village level, which is the step down from county. So I have to usually forward a lot of that to them when people request that information. Loan indentures, insolvencies, Revolutionary War pension applications are interesting. I've not yet looked at one, and I haven't really had a request for any of that kind of stuff that comes up, so I'll be interested when I finally get one. Yeah, the assessment rolls, they don't give a whole lot of information in those early years, so unless you specifically knew or you had a really funky ancestor with a really weird last name, it's kind of hard to ensure that that's your person, but it does have some information in it for the tax amount. So again, you can find this same list as on our website. You brought to my attention that there might be some questions about African American history here. So this slide is, I'm specifically promoting, there's a gentleman that comes in here and does research fairly regularly, and he's been a regular researcher here for a long time, 20 years or more. I've come across quite a bit of his, he's donated some documents, and he's recently published this book. And I haven't read through it, I've peeked through it. He's done amazing documentation on our county's African American population, at least gathering names, and he's very thorough. He goes through and he does deed work. He looks at those oddball records that people wouldn't normally look at, just to make sure he's got all of his I's dotted and his T's crossed. I've kind of put the little card out. You can find this on Amazon. I think it's a great resource for anybody looking. And again, I haven't really read it at this point. As time allows, I'm really going to try to, but very good resource. So if you know you have somebody in Washington County, this would be a great start, and I highly recommend it. The IQS is where the mortgages, deeds, oaths of office, notaries, it goes back at this point to, I want to say, about 1963. Prior to 1963, things are still in books as far as the deed records go. And I don't typically offer deed research when I'm doing a research request for people, only because I don't have the background for it. I can get you so far back, but as you can imagine, it gets tricky. You have a giant parcel of land in the mid-1700s, a handful of patents going around, and then they start parceling them out. And when you go from this time frame back, it's super hard to try to determine where your piece is. So you have to know a lot of stuff to do deed work, to do the land records. Like I said, I don't typically offer it as part of the research package unless you know for sure that there's a simple deed out there. The books are super interesting. I've looked at those earliest deed books. The Skeen patent information is in the very first deed book, and that's Philip Skeen was I want to say he was a trader. I don't know my history very well either, so I do apologize, but he had a patent, and it ended up getting all parceled out when he was run out of the area. So that one's a big one for Washington County. There's a couple of others. And I know land records can give a lot of information. Unfortunately, there's outside private companies that do this deed work for that's their business. So we kind of have that outsourced a little bit. So, and we recommend that you contact them unless you know exactly what you're doing. And anyone's welcome to do the deed work themselves. And there are, you guys are, working through genealogy. I would assume that if you're certified, you would have better knowledge than I would on how to look at those records. So the IQS is the start. We're working on getting 1963 back as time allows and money. We're a small rural county, not a lot of money. We have a lot of farmers. So There's not a whole lot of extra tax dollars to get those oldest records imaged, but we're working on it as best we can. The Paradox database is currently where I run queries when I receive requests for research. It's where I maintain the inventory of the archives. So again, back in the 80s and 90s, grants were a big thing, and lots of people were writing them and getting all kinds of money to do many different things. The census records preservation was one of them. Imaging those old civil case files and all the historical documents because they were in danger of being lost. That money was all grant funded to get those microfilm rolls. And with doing that, they also created the indexing part in Paradox. So, and you can do lots of things in a database. I use it to query. I continue to add to the inventory. I can look up and add departments and that kind of thing. Unfortunately, because of the age of Paradox, it's got limitations on it, and I'm starting to find that it's bogging down a little bit. So we are working to get it moved to Access. I will have IT support at that point, because right now there is no IT support for me with this database. So if something happens to it, it won't be good. So our IT department will be the supporting the new Access database. This is a sample of the searchable census database in Paradox. Very nicely indexed, name, year, page, and line, and then to the right is the town or village. So as you won't be able to see it, but as you go down through that list, that town information changes to wherever that census record is located, but it's really nicely indexed. I don't typically search the census database anymore, because from what I understand, and again, I haven't confirmed or looked, census records are online. So if you would like census research done, what I would ask is you specifically say, can you please search the census for me? I'm not sure how well the index is on the online record for it. Ours is straightforward and really, really nicely done. So that's one of the easy ones for Paradox for me to look at. This is a maps Paradox database. Maps are a huge thing, and one of my least favorite things to do, because they've been numbered and indexed multiple ways. So it makes it a little tricky to try to find certain things. However, this database is a nice start. Again, it's not something I regularly reference unless you specifically needed me to look for a map. I don't know what maps are online and what aren't either, so it's another resource that I have. Most of the people looking for maps are the abstractors and surveyors. Come down a lot looking for some of these old maps. A lot of these are Power and Light Company, that kind of stuff. You can see there's railroad, water and sewer. Like it's a lot of the business of the county kind of mapping. This is the 1908 to 1935 bride and groom marriages database. Can search by either name. I've never been asked to look for this either, so I don't know if this is a record series that's online or not, but it is here and able to be looked at. And because marriage records are tricky to get at the county level, because these are the only ones we have, and then the 1847, 48, and 49, it's a nice little indexed database, easy, straightforward. And here is the main public searchable database for the rest of the records. So you can kind of see how it's set up. Its name, the department and the record series, the year, the inventory. The rest of that information is the citation location information for archives. So that miscellaneous column is in, for Julia Abel, her probate is in inventory number 13089, which was part of box 14. So I think that was like the previous locator information. It's folder 602. So when I go to inventory 13089, I'm going to look for folder 602 if I was pulling the physical record. But if you'll notice, you'll see a roll number and a blip under that. So that record has been microfilmed. So I always go to the microfilm. I don't offer up the paper record unless it wasn't filmed. And there is a handful of records that are not. Unrecorded conveyances come to mind, which are land records. You'll see there's an index to the Washington County history book. I think that history book is a common occurrence across New York State, where there's a history book for each county. And it goes up until 1878. So it's the start of our county till 1878. Lots of information in that book. It reads like a textbook, though, because I would love to read it, but it's dry. But it's a good resource for anyone who doesn't know anything about Washington County. That book is for sale at the Washington County Historical Society. I don't think it's that much money, but it's a nice resource to have. Okay. So I think I just gave another sample of the screen. Yeah, nothing new there. I believe there was an inventory or an indexing of some sort on some other computer system, a DOS system or something, prior to Paradox, but I can't find the record of any of that, so I don't really speak on it. The Access database is going to be amazing. It's going to look a lot nicer, more current look to it, and it will have a lot more functionality to it. And that is my last slide. This is my contact information. Again, our website is washingtoncountiny.gov. I typically have research. There's a research fee when you submit to me through the mail. It's $20. And that basically, I will run the query on your family name or names. I would need date of birth, date of death, as in year or approximate. And then if there's something here, I run the query, gives you the information, you tell me what images you want, and there's a per page fee for that. Again, all this stuff is on our county website. And I think that's all I really have.
I have a couple of questions. I'm sure the class does too, but I have a couple of questions. Do you mind stop sharing your PowerPoint, and would you mind sharing your screen and showing the class how to access your website and the database in live mode?
Give me 1 second. So this is Paradox. Are you able, everything, like you can see everything?
Yes, we can see everything.
All right. So I am running a query now. I am not going to do Smith. But if you give me 1 second, I can pull up an old name that has been researched. Okay. So yeah, this is very strange to me, this database, but it's what I've had since I've been here. So this is kind of how I would search. So ultimately, I'm just typing in the name and the doc year, which would be typically the year of birth and year of death, or approximate. And I always tack on about a 5-year window. If you know the year of birth, I leave that as it stands. The year of death, as you know, back then, sometimes estates would take a while to settle. So I always tack on an extra 5 years or so to make sure I can grab any of that if there is anything here. So once I change those two fields, I just run the data, querying it quick, and it found 7 entries. And because it's Paradox, I have to do some wonky stuff, and then I can generate a report for this information. So there's your pretty report. So ultimately, this is what, if you're publishing something, this is how you would cite your record. Washington County, New York Archives, this is your citation information, the location information, and then this is the record. So this Bartholomew gentleman has an insolvency, and I'm going to bet that these minute entries tie into that insolvency, maybe. But I would go and I would pull these rolls of film. I would go locate the record and do printouts for this information. But this query is basically what I can generate out of the database for any given person.
Now, this is something that you do on your end. This is something that the public cannot access from the website, correct?
No, the public cannot access. We currently don't offer a searchable way to access the database on our online. No. The public is able to come in and do their own searching, and the way that they would do that, and again, this will all change when it goes to access, but for now, this is the Paradox. These are some of the screens that I showed in the presentation. So, let's see. The public is able to come in, and this would be the way they could search. So they could go in and do this same kind of searching. They can't generate the query. I would have to do that for them, but they absolutely can come in and do searching.
Gotcha. Okay. Now, you said that you had been busy digitizing images. Are those images that you've digitized so far available publicly?
They're not available online. They're available in-house, and the digitizing part is like internal department records at this point. So the historical type records are going to just remain on microfilm. So those aren't imaged per se. They're imaged, but not imaged the way I would like them to be. I would like them to be as a digital image on the computer. The only ones that I have now that are that way, the census records are, so I could provide census record copies. So yeah, the census records at some point, I don't know if it was at the same time frame that they preserved them. I don't imagine they were, but they're imaged, so I can provide copies of them without having to actually go take the books apart and like put them on the copier.
I see. Okay.
Yeah, so the searching part is available. Getting the records image that I would like to have imaged, it would be wonderful to have all the wills, for example, as a computer image. But again, that's going to require lots of funding. And because they're already on microfilm, there's not really a priority need for them to be digitized that way.
Have you reached out to the LDS Family History Library in Salt Lake City to see if they would be interested in converting your microfilm into digital?
No, because they already have it all.
Oh, they have everything. Okay.
Yep. They came at one point, from what I understand, and again, I've only been here since 2016, but from what I understand, they have copies of everything here.
Of just the wills or of all the records?
Like
land records, deeds, that kind of thing?
I don't know. I'm not sure about the deeds. So the deeds you can access through the IQS, but only back to 1963. Anything prior would have to be done here. Someone would have to do it here. Like I said, I don't typically offer it. I can get you so far, and then I can't go back any further. And I would be saying I could probably get you back to the 1880s maybe. And then anything before that, it gets tricky because it parcels out, and I don't read links and rods and chains. I don't know that conversion. And then you have to know where it is on the map. It's very, very, very involved.
Okay, no, I understand. Yeah, we've actually talked about old maps before here in class, and the challenges of understanding the old system versus the new system. So
Right.
yes, I can completely understand that.
I think it's great that people can find stuff, and I don't want to sound discouraging about it. It's just tricky. It's just really tricky.
Understood. Okay. Well, I'm going to open up the forum here to the class, and if anybody has a question, please unmute your microphone, but leave your camera off. When will the new system be up and running?
My new database
Yes.
should be within the next few months, I think. I'm hopeful.
Oh.
I've been beta testing it already. Are you still able to see my screen?
Yes, we see the woman running across the beach.
Okay, give me 1 second. So this is just a beta test form of the public search. It's now an Access database. And I'm trying not to lose windows and screens. So it's going to look similar, but it's actually looks pretty nice to me. Compared to what it is now. So she's built it into one search. You'll still look for people the same way. It still pops up with all that same information, but you don't have to go, it's all in that one field area. It's just any Bartholomew. And then you can it's all in a central area. The map one that I talked about a little bit is here. So you can look at Fort Edward. Like I said, there's some railroad information, and ultimately it's a very dry piece of information, but I know it's important. I don't ever get to see end results of things, so it makes it tricky for me. Some things I have to see at the start and at the finish to understand them better. There's lots of stuff in this. That marriage one, so we'll just do all. So these are the 1908 to 1935 marriage records. Lots of stuff here.
So basically, even with the new interface, they still won't be able to see the actual record, but they'll just have a cleaner interface of which to pull it up, and easier to maneuver website.
Right there. Yeah, there's no way to attach the images to the indexing. This is just the index searching thing to give us where to find things. So in order to see
it's a very nice, clean interface.
Oh yeah, I really like it. The indexing part is amazing to me. As you saw in the census, there's hundreds of thousands of names in here. A lot of it is, some of it's duplicated because depending on typos, and as you know, as genealogy researchers, clerks were not the most cleanest handwriters. There's some beautiful handwriting that is very legible, and then there's just not. So we have to enter the information as it stands, but if you know that information is wrong, you meaning whoever's doing the indexing, they've created extra entries, and I've come across it multiple times. So right here, Archibald is spelled 2 different ways. I can almost bet that that's the same gentleman. There's 1 letter difference. And it's 2 different records, I know, but, there's records in here that are definitely...
They're also only 2 years apart in date.
I know, but
yeah.
There's other entries in here that are very similarly spelled with that type. It's not a typo, it's how it looks on the paper.
No, I'm just saying that
Um,
the 2
yeah.
years difference would support that that's the same guy.
Oh, right, I see, yep. Yeah, there's a lot of information here. Unfortunately, because LDS, I think, came and got at least the wills from what I know. I don't have as much traffic, I guess, as there used to be here. This room used to be full all the time, and unfortunately, I've only, I don't know, the most amount of people I've had at one given point in time. It's been a couple times I've had 2 different parties in here trying to do research. So most of my stuff is done through mail. I get online requests, which is fine. Unfortunately, if I do, so I'll run the query because the query literally takes me 2 seconds. I don't normally charge to just run the query, but if I find information and you want information, I have to charge the 20. So that's where it gets, I don't mind running the query because it's really just doing the, it's running from the index. So.
Now the $20
yeah.
fee, that gets you whatever you have, right? I mean, it's not like a maximum of 20 pages or something like that.
The $20 research fee is just, technically it's for me to run the query and find the information and pull the information off of the microfilm. But then if you want the copies of that stuff, I have to charge per page. So the $20 is for me to basically do the research part. And like I said, if there's more specific, if you know that somebody's got a map out there, or you know that there's a page in a deed book somewhere, that they had property X, and you have it narrowed down as close as you can get it, I can go up and do some deed work, that kind of thing. So it's the $20, gets you the query. You would tell me what you wanted off that query, or I would tell you X, Y, and Z is probably not going to be interesting enough to you. The court minutes books are hit or miss. Some court minutes books have just a blip of so-and-so was in court this day. It doesn't tell you what town they're from. It doesn't tell you very much information. So I don't typically say the court minutes books are necessary. You guys as genealogy researchers know your wills are going to get you a lot more information. I'm going to guess the Revolutionary War stuff is going to get you information. The census obviously gives you information. So,
I know
yeah.
I know you mentioned that you've never looked at the Revolutionary War pensions, but I can't help but wonder if they differ from the ones that are available at the National Archives.
They would be specific just to Washington County, so I'm unsure. I don't know if the National Archives has all of, everywhere's.
Melanie,
And
is Washington County on Long Island?
No.
Okay.
We are about an hour above Albany, which is the middle. We're on the eastern part of the state.
Got
about
it.
An hour north of Albany, yeah. So we're about 3 hours from Long Island, 3 to 4 hours.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Okay, any other questions? Give it just a few seconds.
Sure.
I think one of my most exciting things about today's presentation is knowing about the Revolutionary War pension files that you have. Mm-hmm. That really is a topic of very much interest to a lot of my students that come see me, especially on one-on-one on Saturdays,
Gotcha.
because a lot of them are trying to get into different groups like the SAR or the DAR, and having those Revolutionary War pension files is all important. So,
right.
Wow, what a gold mine you're sitting on.
And like I said, I am unsure if there's, I haven't had anyone requesting names that have fit into that record series. So either the people that are wanting to be in those societies that information's already available to them elsewhere through Ancestry. But the thing with Ancestry is if it's not cited properly, they can't use it for the society. So I just haven't had anybody submit a name that fits into that record. I'm hopeful that someone will before, I'm not here anymore, but
Well, hopefully our recording today will get that word out for you.
hopefully. I mean, if they know that the people were in Washington County, yeah, I certainly hope so. There's so much stuff here. These records that are in the quotation marks are actual, like, publications that I have, and I typically don't search these specific records, because these are something that I refer to the county historian. So she's in the vault space above me, and she holds family files and more of the genealogy type stuff, like church records, cemetery records. She has lots of things in her holdings as well, and an additional valued resource.
Does she have a website?
She is also on our Washington County, New York website. So when you go to our website, let me see if I can do it from here. Here's our website. Are you still seeing me, Sue?
No, it looks great. Yes,
Okay.
beautiful.
So here's our website. Here's our main page. So you're going to see, here's the historian link, and here's me. So the historian link is here, and she's got lots of stuff in her holdings. Church records, Asa Fitch papers. That's a huge resource for Washington County. He was a doctor, I believe, and he documented everything, and he was amazing. And he documented a ton of stuff that, I have a copy of some of this stuff down here, but I let her handle that because it's historical. Church records, all kinds. She's got family files. She's got file cabinets full. If someone has done research on a family, she's got a family folder. Baptisms, list of pensioners for War of 1812 and the Civil War. Like, she's got a lot of stuff in her holdings as well. So she's also another valuable resource. Stephanie is the county clerk. Loretta is listed as the deputy, but she's actually the one that runs that office. She doesn't live in Washington County anymore. She did when she first started, but she moved out of the county, so she has to be the deputy because we want our residents to have first choice of jobs here. But she's been here 30 plus years now, I think, as of last year. She's a valuable resource for sure. And again, my part, and all my contact information is also here. My phone number, where I'm located. These hours are not accurate right now because of COVID. I'm here 8:30 to 4:30, but my lunchtime is a little varied. Easiest way to get a hold of me is just email me. If you are just looking or want to know if there's something here, shoot me an email. Running the query really doesn't take that much time. And then you go to here. That's where this list of things is that I have. So.
And what about the surrogates court? What is that right there? On the left-hand side in the gold bar, yeah.
Yep. It just links you to our surrogates court.
So it doesn't take you to the actual records?
No, because none of the records are going to be online. None of the index or none of that is online. This just tells you if you're looking for a will after 1915, you would contact the surrogates court. And again, most people aren't looking for anything that late. People that are contacting me at this point, they all want those early things.
Wow. Okay. This is great. Okay.
So,
Well,
yeah,
once again,
definitely.
I'll throw open the class. Any questions before we say thank you to our guest speaker for today? Just give it a few moments. Okay, well, it sounds to me like they've got all their questions answered. So Melanie, I want to say thank you very much for joining us today and for sharing your expertise and your resources with us. And hopefully our class will reach out to you individually and with help for anybody they have in Washington County. And with that, before you sign off, Melanie, let me just let the class know that the class goes on for another hour, hour and a half or so. So if you'd like to stay for the second half of class, please don't log out. And if you are going to leave us at this point, I just want to remind everyone, if there's anything in the chat box that you want to get before you log out, please download the chat box or copy and paste it. Either way, because once you log out, even if you log back in, you'll lose what's in the chat box. So with that, Melanie, if you'd like to stay with us for the next hour and a half, you're more than welcome to. Or if you prefer to get back to your regular scheduled day, all you have to do is click on that red end button.
I will do that. Thank you. I would love to stay, but unfortunately I have to finish some work for the day. I appreciate everybody's time, and reach out if you have any questions, if I can help you with anything. Lots of our towns, villages, counties all have websites now, which is very, very, very helpful. But if I can help direct any better, please feel free to let me know.
And thank you for letting us videotape today's presentation. It'll take our marketing department a couple weeks to get it up onto our YouTube channel, but once it's there, I'll let you know.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Have a good day, guys. Thanks. Bye-bye.